Good morning. It's Sunday morning. It's last one of November. Excuse me. I thought I had this all cleared for us. And what do you know? I get all gummed up again. This is this is an end of change of weather. This is an end of change of seasons. This is an end of almost this year. And that's when you realize that next Sunday is December the 1st. I don't know about the area that you're living in, but here our weather is glum, dull, cold in a way. We're having to put on heavier jackets, warmer clothing, adjusting. And today I really want to talk about adjusting. How we have to adjust to weather change, whether you have to adjust to time. Knowing that December the 1st is next Sunday, that means, guess what? Christmas time or other celebrations that happen towards the end of December. Also, I find a lot of people that I run into having to adjust to health issues, myself included. And that is upsetting to some degree when we've had great health and being able to go and do anything we wanted to do. And all of a sudden that doesn't quite work out the way we want. So how do we handle adjusting the different bits and pieces that go on? If you've heard me talk a lot, you'll hear me talk about acceptance. It's one of my favorite words because I found until I really realized acceptance was so important, it really didn't make too much difference in my life. I just kind of ambled along and dealt with whatever. And then I began to realize by accepting things, I came up with solutions. I came up with other things that I could change or bring into a reality. And so as we are wrapping up November at this point, and so therefore I will do December's reading this coming Wednesday, because otherwise we're into the 3rd. And I find when we do that, it really destroys the timelines in reading for the month. I'm always a little bit at crossroads about that. Do I do it? But I found when I do it, if it's one or two, that works. It doesn't matter. But 3, 4, it's like you don't have a good swing into the early part coming in. So that's why the reading will be on Wednesday. Find out what's going to happen. There's a lot of changes going on in the world out there. Now, at one time I was on top of everything. I just really enjoyed a lot of the political games that went on, but because of other situations in my life, not so much these days now, but I still hear changes of government, changes of ideas, changes of perceptions. And we're down here having to live with some of these changes that go on. Some changes seem really good and some changes don't seem to be so good. If you have been around a while, then you begin to realize there's tends to be a circular that, somebody will say something maybe 20 years ago and they did it for about 10 years and then stopped. And now here we are again, 10 years later, that, oh, well, this would work better. And so they go back to what they probably tried out is how that was going to be or how that isn't going to be. So anyway, what we want to look at today is how you're going to adapt to the coming weather. I know I got my heavy coats out. I've got several kinds of heavy coats for winter, lighter ones, medium ones, and then the real big ones. I haven't dug out my boots yet, though, because we haven't had really much snow here, just a little bits. But that's coming. And so there's a lot of it getting ready, getting to adjust. And that's what I want to talk about, because when you're younger in years, you don't really think too much about it. It's just something you do and get on with and work with. But how do you begin to adjust when you're a little getting on and there's things that you have to change because you're changing within the what would I want to call that? I know once you begin, like, I don't know where November went, I'll be honest. It seems like I was just talking about the beginning of November, last week, 10 days ago, and here we are at the end. And it was so fast sometimes when time begins to move fast. And that's because in some ways when you get, as you get older in age, you move slower. And, things seem to take forever, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same point, I still recognize our adapting, our acceptance of what has to change, because now we're coming to the end of 2024. I follow a football team in Britain, and now we've got a lot of games coming up towards the end of the year there, and then it's 2025. What will 2025 bring? So my usual way of looking at that for myself to adapt is I do myself a reading at somewhere between Christmas and New Year's. Is that I do a reading for myself to see what the year will be like, and I keep note of it. And not that I read it every month to see where I'm at, but I kind of keep a note of, okay, what's this year going to bring me? What do I have to adapt to? What am I going to change? What am I needing to be aware of? Now, I've spent a lot of years already on this life. And so I have sort of life experiences. And I think that's what happens. I know very often people don't take that into consideration, but I've learned a lot just by living my life, by doing many, many, many different things. Some I enjoyed and some weren't so enjoyable, but at the same point, it's called experience. So you have experience as you go through, and you apply those experiences to your life. So as you get a little further with life, and you have children, and they have school, and they have to have coats, boots, etc. If you're in a winter climate like we are here, there's a lot of things we have to adapt to, and some we take for granted, and especially when we're younger. As we get older, we have a lot more things to think about, in the sense of keeping healthy, being able to go places, being able to work on. I know I put new winter tires on my car this year because it was time. And I know that the odds are between January in particular, although that may start earlier here, through to about March, we will have snow on the road. So you've got to have a good winter tire. And if you want to go anywhere in the area that I live in, usually you're going to go over, I was going to say a mountain or two, but it's not really a mountain that high. You're going to climb high places. We have. I live in a valley, but it has mountains on either side, where if we want to go somewhere, you're going to have to go up over the mountain. And sometimes when I look at some of the topography, what I find is that it is indicative of life, that there are blind valleys, like, roads that you're looking at only at hills and where you're going, that there are twists and turns. And that is a lot of life, how life works, what we do with life. What do we do when things don't go our way? What do we do when we have all these expectations? That's one of the things I found very early on in my life. When I had an expectation of certain things being a certain way, it's like you put them up in the air. It's like, all excited. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. It's going to be this way or that way. And then the expectation doesn't come about. And what happens is that whole concept crashes down into reality. And then we have to deal with the disappointments and the awarenesses and all those other things that go on. So this is, I think, this week that we're in, between the end of November, the beginning of December, is a little like that. What is our expectation for December? Some of us have political things going on. Some of us don't. Some of us have travel plans. Some of us don't. Some of us have many things happening and others don't. And that's how life is, because of how things work. But what is your expectation? What are you expecting that you may not be too sure of is going to happen? Because if you have an expectation that is not based in reality, what happens is that viewpoint, that expectation will crash into reality, and then you have to adjust. And the key is, as you move on in life, is that you learn how to deal with those expectations. You become a little bit more practical and maybe a bit more realistic about how things all work out and how they come together. And I know as I was sitting here thinking about what am I going to talk about today, I began to look at some tarot cards. Began to look at some insight cards, see what was going on, what was the inclination, and then I realized this is about adapting. This is about accepting. This is about recognizing that things are changing. Things are changing a lot. I know I'm in Canada, so it's like Canadian rules are a little different than US rules. And, all of a sudden we've got this happening and that happening and the other. And it's like, how do you keep track of all that, number one? So it's like, again, adapting to what's happening in relation to your life and what your expectation is. Very often we have an expectation of what we want that is not going to come into reality. And that creates disappointment, disillusionment, sadness, maybe even hurt, emotional hurt. Hopefully not physical hurt, although that can happen too sometimes because we'll do something that it does not fit the times or the environment. So that's my Sunday thought for today. Is like, what is the expectation? What is the adjustments we need to make as we're shifting now from this end of November in this next week to the beginning of December, which then brings in 4 weeks a beginning of a whole new year. So there's a lot of things like that I know I'll start looking at very closely, which I haven't. I haven't looked at 1925. Sorry, guys. I wasn't even yes, I was. No, I wasn't. No lie. I was going to say I wasn't even alive then, which is true. And so it's like we're going to look at how things are going to be. So next Sunday, I'm going to, because it is December the 1st, I'm going to talk about dealing with the pressures that come. I'm talking about now adjustments, adjusting to what comes. Next week, we'll talk about the pressures of what comes. So I thank you for listening. I have a couple of comments that came here. I noticed that Ocean Sound 100, there's lots like, hey, what's going on? Well, I'm just, every Sunday morning, I do a little talk for about 10 minutes. I brought some really good raincoat because I talked about coats. I want to walk in the rain in New Jersey. Oh, good for you. And it still goes on. I don't mind, Norma. What is your sign? My sign, I'm a Cancer, my birth sign, but I got lots of signs because I've kind of got a bundle chart there. Are you in the USA? No, I'm in Canada. I put down Canada. It is. And Karen B., good morning to you, my dear. Good to hear from you. I trust this rings a bell to you. And then Ocean Sound again says, this is interesting, Norma. Are you saying keep your expectations based in reality? Oh, yeah. If you don't, there will be disappointment. Oh, yes, for sure. Expectations are up here. They've got to have some grounding in the world because they just fall crash bang, and then you're sad or mad. Sad or mad, usually you go one or two ways depending on your personality. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you. I trust this will help and aid, and I trust that if you're interested, subscribe to the channel and thumbs up. If you like what I say, thumbs up. I will be back Wednesday then again. And of course, Monday night, I tend to talk here about Wednesday because it's a morning talk. Monday night, mental mind treatment, 7:00, same channel, same things. That's probably the most fun. It sounds weird, my prayer time, but I enjoy it so much. And I enjoy the comments and I enjoy the people is just what makes my day. So I look forward to it all day. So Monday night, here we go, 7:00, same channel, same time. Lots of great people come on. Talk to you soon. Bye now.